Welcome to Australia, welcome to Australian Book Travels, and welcome to this week's book recommendations. I hope you're all well, as I always do each week. I really hope you've had a lovely few days since I saw you last, or a week, depending on whether you've been watching the travel video or last week's book recommendations. Either way, I hope you've had a lovely few days or week, and yeah, that you're all keeping safe and happy and healthy. It's getting very cold here in central Victoria. We are now at night time, we get down to around about 1 degree, which is really cold, and we've had a few frosts as well. But it is lovely for the change of seasons. I don't mind winter that much because it is nice to have that time to prepare the garden and the house for spring. So you have to look at these things in a positive way, don't you? Even though sometimes the short days and the cold are really... Although even with the cold, it brings the fact that we can light the fire and we can have a lovely wood burning fire. So... And that, to me, that's really comfy and cozy and goes really well with book reading. Of which to say, let's get on with these recommendations. Now, I've got a couple of unusual ones today for you. Yes, they may be unusual. You may know of them, you may not. The first one I have is an old favourite, Alexander McCall Smith. This one is Pianos and Flowers. This I bought just recently. I'm so sorry. And I hope they're clean. You probably have fingerprints all over them. Oh, okay. This is, let me see who, Polygon. Polygon, I think Alexander McCall Smith is published by them all the time. I don't think he's ever changed. So it's a hardcover and is all up. It's only a couple of hundred pages. Yes, not even a couple of hundred pages. It is 179 pages. This is a little unusual, as Alexander McCall Smith's sense of humour tends to be. What it is, it's really lovely, actually. I read it on the train coming home from Melbourne the other day, and I have been reading it one or two stories in the evening. It is a compilation of stories, and I think he originally wrote them for a newspaper, and then because they were so successful, he was asked to write a book on them. And what he does, which I will show you, I have them all set out here. He is given a photo, an old black and white photo. And from that, he writes a story. Well, he's witty anyway, but these are really good. Sometimes they're quite bizarre, or they're funny. Sometimes a little strange, like, yeah, bizarre and a little just off of centre. Really interesting, really engaging. I thoroughly enjoy them because then when you look at the photo, oftentimes, more often than not, even when they are bizarre, they're funny, because you look back at the photo and you think, gosh, I'm betting that's not really the story behind that photo. It's a lovely idea, and Alexander McCall Smith is one of the authors who definitely has the talent to make a story out of just one picture. And they say a picture can say 1,000 words. He says a few more than that, but they're really interesting, engaging words. So I recommend it. This is Pianos and Flowers. I think it may have been published in, yes, 2019. So not that long ago. Just the beginning of COVID type thing, or thereabout. Was it? Beginning of no, just before COVID kicked in. Yeah, so this is, it's really engaging. If you're wanting short stories with bizarre, interesting, funny, this is definitely the book for you. And if you like Alexander McCall Smith, it's going to be even better. It's definitely one for the library. So that's that one. Now, something else that I have just finished. This has been out for a few years as well. I think it was 2021 or 22 this was published. Gosh, oh no, I'm not right. Oh no, I am right. It was first published in 2022 and this edition is 2023. Now this is about an Australian. So for those of you who are wanting an Australian author, and if you are interested in Jane Austen, this is the Jane Austen remedy. This is Ruth Wilson, an Australian, lives in New South Wales, and she's an academic. She has travelled. She is now in her 90s and wrote this. Well, if she's now in her early 90s and she wrote this in 23, yeah, she must have been 89 or 90. She was somewhere. So she wrote this then. This is about her. It's a little bit of a memoir insofar as when she correlates or parallels anything from Jane Austen, her life, or any of her novels, Ruth Wilson then talks about how that has related to her life. And overall, how she believes Jane Austen's novels have not only engaged her, but how they have not necessarily formed her life, but how she can see and how she's engaged with the novel and how she can see her own life either reflected or the changes that she subsequently makes are because partly due to Jane Austen novels. Now, what happened was in her 70s, I think it was, so she was in her 70s, she split from her husband of many, many years, many decades, and she had 4 children with him. They remained, not initially, but they have remained friends now. And she is what they call, she got it here. I think she says that they are married, live apart marrieds or something, I think she says. She calls herself, hang on, let me have a look. Here I am. I should have had all this ready for you, but I've actually had family visiting today, and that was very exciting. But I thought once they left, I thought it was a good opportunity. Today is Sunday, and I thought it was a good opportunity to get the book recommendations filmed for you. Now, I can't see, she has a photo here, and where is she? Oh, here she is, about the author, right at the back. She and her husband are a married couple who live together apart. So that's how she describes her relationship with her husband. Then what she does, once she leaves him in her 70s, she was an academic, but she also goes back to university and completes a PhD in literature, in Jane Austen, specialising in Jane Austen novels. And she then wrote this book. So in the last, if she's 90 now, so in the last 20 or 20 odd years, when she's reading these books, she goes to her holiday home in the Highlands in New South Wales, and she spends time on her own trying to discover who she is and seeing reflections of that, and using Jane Austen's novels, but seeing reflections of her life or how she can change her life by reading Jane Austen novels, if that makes sense. Now, I really enjoyed this. Overall, I recommend it. You don't have to be a Jane Austen fan because there are references to other wonderful novels. It's a little memoir over the last 20 years where she really decides who she is, and she reflects on life and what it all means to her. She was married young, as people of her generation were. They married. Women really had to be married and in the home and have their children. And she reflects on how that has affected her and her relationships with her parents and so forth. Now, overall, I really did enjoy it, although I will warn you, there's not an awful lot of Jane Austen references in here. There are, but not as many as I thought there would be. But there are still a good many references. And there are some sections, particularly toward the middle and a little bit towards the end, where in a nice way, in a nice way, it's certainly not a bad way, but it's a bit dry. So if you're looking for a memoir that's all about Jane Austen and it's, funny and intriguing, there is also, you can see that she's an academic because she discusses Jane Austen academically. And even for me, a lover of Jane Austen, a lover of books, I just found there were certain sections, not the whole book, but certain sections that I couldn't quite relate to, and I really felt that perhaps the best way to say it is, my eyes glazed over a little bit. I just thought I really wanted to know more about Jane Austen, and I wanted to know more about how it really affects you, and how reading her books has affected you. It is that. Believe me, it is that, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and particularly the end. I think in the end she really summed up what the book is all about, and she did it really well. But just be aware that it is a little, not overly, but it is a little more academic in parts than what I personally was expecting. And it did turn out to be a little bit dry in those places. And the truth of it is, there were times when I found it hard to pick it back up. And that always tells me that I'm going through a hard time reading it. It wasn't difficult to read or anything like that. It was just a bit dry. But overall, I did love it. I do recommend it, but it may not be for everyone. That's what I'm really trying to say. If you're looking purely Jane Austen and fun and lightheartedness, it's not that. And there are some sad parts of it too, where she really makes some hard choices and really does some deep self-reflection. And she doesn't pull any punches. So if you're looking for a lighthearted book, this is not for you. If you are perhaps feeling sad, or if you're going through a breakup of your own marriage, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but I probably wouldn't read it. I am in a happy place. I'm feeling good about life. And there were just those times when I found it hard to pick it up. But overall, it's a great book. And I do think, if you can, definitely read it. Because I think you'll get a lot out of it. You really will. It is a good book. I'm just giving you those criticisms, if you like, to be honest. I just want to be honest. I'm not going to tell you, as I have said in other videos, I'm not going to tell you that a book is wonderful and fantastic and great if there are some hard places, or indeed if it's not a good book. This is a good book, but it's just in some places it may not be what you expect. I recommend you reading it if you're that way inclined, but it won't be for everybody. And this is, I'll just let you know, this is 306 pages of part memoir, but reflecting on how Jane Austen's books have affected her life and how they helped her through a difficult time in her life. Now, this is I did say 2023, didn't I? And it is Allen and Unwin. So I recommend it, but it won't be for everybody. So another one, which is a really old tale, they're memoirs. I picked these up actually very, very cheap at a library that was selling off their, they were selling off their books. This is Tangye. And if anybody if any of you know about Derek Tangye, he and his wife in the 60s in England gave up their jobs and decided to have a farm. I think it was a flower farm, actually, from recollection, in the country. Now, it's beautiful. They're all beautifully written. There are different stages. These are old library books, so they are a bit... I keep the tags on so that I don't... By peeling them off, I don't want to ruin them. But, so I just leave them on. But these are the series. There's a few more, I think, actually. I think there's about 10 in the series. But I began years and years and years ago, I began with A Cat Affair and absolutely loved it. Derek tells you how he and his wife decided to buy this property and give up their jobs. I think he was in banking and I think his wife was in a corporate position as well. But they just gave up their... well, here you go. I'll read the inside here. A Cat Affair is one of the most remarkable cat stories ever written. It has the magical qualities of such a masterpiece as The Incredible Journey, though the story of A Cat Affair is a true one. Derek Tangye, in his books about his Minack flower farm in the far west of Cornwall, has made two cats immortal. First, Monty, the ginger cat of A Cat in the Window, that's one of the books, who was introduced to him as a kitten playing on the green carpet of Jeannie's, his wife, Jeannie Tangye's press office at the Savoy Hotel, and who came with them to Cornwall when they bought Minack Flower Farm, or the Minack Farm that then became their flower farm in Cornwall. I won't go on because there is quite a bit more to read. I do recommend them. They are they're funny. As I say, they are a memoir, so you get the story of all their ups and downs and their finances and how they're in trouble and then they make money and how they just love life and they love that simple country life. And the animals, the wildlife and the other domesticated animals that they bring into their life. Derek Tangye and his wife, when they passed away, which I think was in the 80s or 90s, I don't think it is on here. I think he passed away in the late 80s, but his wife predeceased him, and then when he died, they bequeathed their farm to be used as a donkey sanctuary, and it is still alive and well today. So in this book, you are introduced to some of the donkeys, and of course, throughout all of these others. In fact, I think, there you go, there is one there, a donkey in the meadow. So he'll tell you all about the donkeys. There are, as I say, there are about 10. I think in this hardcover, here we go. A gull on the roof, a cat in the window, a drake at the door, a donkey in the meadow, llama, the way to Minack, a Cornish summer, and cottage on a cliff. So they really are beautiful. If you can get yourself, I think they might still be in publication, but if they're not, I could be fibbing there. It could be that there are just a lot round in second hand. I may actually have a look at that, because if they're in publication, they will be available through an English bookshop, and certainly bookshops that have a lot to do with English books. So I may even have a look on Abbey's bookshop in New South Wales and see if they have any Derek Tangye. That's definitely something that I will do. That's a project, and I may get back to you. I may even, if I have the time, I'll put it in the subtitles as to whether you can still get them or not. They are really quaint. They go through hardships. There are funny things, funny neighbours, funny animals, and just an all-round feel-good, but they are true. So they're an all-round feel-good novels. Just lovely. Really lovely reading. And over time, we'll go through them separately. Although, as I have told you in the past, I'm not inclined to really tell you the full story of particularly books like this where there is a story and things happen along the way, because it's nicer if you read the book and you get a surprise. You have a surprise. And, I don't want to tell you from cover to cover what it's all about and what happens. Not if I can help it. Sometimes it's necessary. like this one to let you know what it's about, because it certainly was different. This one was different to what I thought it would be. It was great, but it was different. And when there are lovely stories and happenings within a book, I try not to tell you what they're about. It's lovely if you get the surprise. What I want to do is tell you that these are lovely. They're very, just feel good, really feel good. There are hard times through it, but Derek Tangye makes the positive out of it, and he turns anything negative into a positive. They're really beautiful, and I do recommend them. So that's those. And one last thing that I want to recommend today. For many, many years, I won't say how many exactly, but many years, let's say, we could be talking decades, I don't buy magazines. I'm not interested in women's magazines. I'm not interested in fashion magazines or anything like that. I find that a lot of them gossipy, and I don't like them. But the one that I have bought for many, many years, and in the last probably 5 years, one of my family members has been buying me the subscription, so that it just, instead of me going to the newsagents to buy the magazine, I get it in the mailbox, and each month it's a lovely surprise. Excuse me. And I sit back with a cup of tea and I read the magazine. Now, this is an Australian magazine. You will be able to subscribe and get it sent to you overseas. Excuse me. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. A little bit dry in the throat. You will be able to subscribe overseas if you wish. How that translates into cost, I'm not sure, but that's something that you could perhaps investigate. All I know is that it's really good value, our subscriptions here. This is Country Style magazine, produced here, published here in Australia. What I like about it, it does have adverts, and they are contained at the back of the book. Fashion, household decor and things like that. There's an advertising pamphlet. But what it does, what I really love, is it has some editorial pieces. It has book club, and it does a bit of a write-up on the books for that month. Some of them you've never heard of, and it's really interesting to investigate them and perhaps go out and buy them. The other thing, which you will all know I absolutely love, is when they feature, it's really a pro Australian small business, Australian farming businesses. And so if they feature a business that's, say, a restaurant or a cafe, or even if it's a company, a woman who has decided to knit jumpers and sell them and make a business out of it, the Country Style magazine get them to give their favourite recipes. And so you get a few pages of recipes, and some of them are main course menu. It's a main course menu, so they can feature meat, which I'm not a meat eater, but of course I'm a fanatic on the desserts, so it also gives you a dessert. They also occasionally feature a chef, and then that chef will also give you their favourite recipe. And sometimes they do a reader recipe. So readers will send in a recipe and they'll give the story as to that recipe. So it may be their grandmother's recipe or a great-grandmother's, and it has filtered down through the family, and they'll give it in the magazine. Mainly it is about promoting Australian businesses and Australian homes. So homes that have been renovated. I don't know if you can see that, but they're stunning, absolutely stunning. They're beautiful to look through, and they'll tell you the colours and the materials that have been used. And some of the people may be an artist, or they may be a sculptor, or they may have just moved to the country for a lifestyle change and renovated an old home. Now, I know a couple of editions in the past, I think they may do it this is a monthly magazine, and I think they may every couple of times a year, they feature, or they have featured, a home overseas. So Finland, Sweden, anything that really fits the style of what they're showcasing in Australia. So that's lovely too. We get to see business overseas and their home. Perhaps it's an Australian who's moved overseas, or somebody who's lived overseas and they're just featuring their home. It's really lovely magazine. I think it's worth it. I have kept mine. I don't know if you can see them, but if you can see, this was, I think, if you can see in the corner of the camera, perhaps I'll just turn that around a little bit. I hope you don't see too much of the household dusting that is required. But in the corner, there's a pile of magazines there. That was, I think, last year's lot of issues, and perhaps a little bit the year before. You do get 13 magazines a year with a 12-month subscription. And on the very bottom shelf behind me, it's full of the magazines. So I do try to keep them. I have, years gone by, I have given some away, purely because I have moved, and, you know, it's very hard to move when your books take up more than your furniture. So I have had to give a lot of them away. But the ones that I have now will stay. I'm hopefully will be in this house forever, whatever that means, but for the rest of my life anyway. And so my idea is to just keep them, because they are a great reference when you're just sitting back there. They're not necessarily of any particular, they don't outdate. So they're not particularly dated. But they're beautiful. And what I do like is the adverts are not scattered throughout the magazine, but they are at the back of the book. And there's holidays and things like that, you know, they recommend holiday locations. It's a really great magazine. So if you're in Australia and you don't normally buy magazines, or you're just wanting one good magazine, I personally think this is the one to buy. And if you're overseas and you're wanting to see a little bit more of beautiful Australian homes and businesses, and businesses that advertise in here, then this is definitely the magazine. I really love it. I look forward to it every month. I don't know if you can hear that. That's one of my geese squawking, telling me that I need to go out there and feed him. Can you hear him? I'm hoping you can't. I'm hoping you think that I'm a bit nutty and that I'm hearing things. But he's just outside the window here screaming for attention. So I do apologise. But yes, so this is a great magazine. It is the only magazine that I have ever bought for decades and decades, because it is quality. It really is a quality magazine. So that's Country Style Magazine, Australian. Derek Tangye, English, now sadly deceased, but a collection of his, like a memoir, really, a collection of his storytelling of the farm that he and his wife share. Absolutely beautiful. They're comfy, cozy, great reading. I do recommend them wholeheartedly. And the Jane Austen Remedy is fantastic. Not for everyone. I will warn you, not for everyone. A bit dry in places. But overall, I thought it was a really good read, and I enjoyed it. Oh, as she throws it away. And the last but not least, Alexander McCall Smith, Pianos and Flowers, short stories relating to a photo that he has been given. Each, like there's one there. And the bizarre stories he comes out with, they're absolutely fantastic. So I recommend that. Okay. I am doing this again. I find myself doing these very quickly for you. It's Sunday and it is evening, or we're coming on the cusp now. I think it's about 5 o'clock in the evening. So I do want to get this up for you tomorrow. And then, of course, I have all the editing to do for our next Saturday's video, the travel video. I hope you have a wonderful week or a wonderful day until I see you next. If you have enjoyed this video or you've watched one of the other videos and you do enjoy them, I please encourage you to watch the others, and do comment, like, share and subscribe. It does help the channel, and I thank you for that. I thank all of you. Right from the very beginning of this channel 6 months ago, all of you who have subscribed and all of you who watch and comment religiously, honestly, I am so lucky to have you all. It's a really wonderful community, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to share with you. I hope you enjoy the travel videos in good time, but perhaps you're more of a bookish freak and you prefer the book videos, and that's fine. And conversely, if you are a travel freak and you don't like books, then you won't be seeing this. So I may have to make another video to thank all of those who only watch the travel videos. I have to remember to do that. I keep forgetting. Okay, so good eating, that's really important. Good cooking. It doesn't have to be baking, but just good, nourishing food, particularly in Australia or in the Southern Hemisphere where we are now going into our winter. And baked potatoes and quiche and yummy. And of course, those in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you're enjoying whatever food is available for you and what's in season. Happy reading. Good reading, even if it's just a page a night, or if you devour a book a day, that's wonderful. Whatever it is, so long as it's making you happy. And yes, I will see you next video. So all take care, and I'll see you when I see you. Okay, bye for now.